Tyson has some chickens that are going green. Hemp continuing to rise. And Canada can play something other than hockey. Who knew? This is a fresh episode of Friday on the Fly. Good morning, even if it's not morning where you are while you're listening. Good morning, Tomas.
Morning, Matthew. It is morning here.
It is morning here.
Early
It's
morning.
well morning.
Yes.
Well into the morning. Not even well into the morning.
Early.
It's
morning.
early. It's not well into the morning.
Right.
That's the problem.
Which is perfectly fine. You know, we want to make sure we get a fresh episode out every week. And
Yes.
This week on June 14th, it needed to be
real early.
completed when it could be completed. So
Yes.
happy to be here, though.
Happy to be here. So, as mentioned, Tyson's got some chickens that are evidently putting out a little bit of greenery. What am I talking about here, Tomas? What's going on with them?
Yeah, so there's an article on Farm Journal's pork website. Tyson joins the alternative protein products market, which is kind of a big deal. And it's not necessarily that the chickens are going green, but Tyson is going to a plant-based chicken nugget, which you can't call it a chicken nugget, so it's a plant-based nugget.
Right.
Through their brand Raised and Rooted.
Yes.
And so it's got 9 grams of protein, 33% less saturated fat, 5 grams of fiber. It's soy-free, so it's not even made with soy protein.
And a whole lot less of taste.
And a whole lot less of chicken.
Yes.
So it was announced Thursday. This article came out yesterday. Jennifer Scheich from has the article here. Tyson Foods press release. We'll say plant-based and blended meat products. So they're branding it Raised and Rooted. That's going to be the product brand for their alternative meat product. That's what they're calling it, alternative meat, not veggie nugget. Plant-based nugget, as well as blended burgers with a combination of beef and plants.
Yes.
And the company already has an existing brand that has some sausage and meatballs made with chicken instead of beef. So,
made with chicken instead of beef, or made with plant instead of beef?
Chicken and plant-based ingredients.
Chicken
you can't completely, I guess, remove the animal product yet to still get that same effect.
Right. You're not going to get the same effect with me anyway. I refuse. But anyway, a huge part about this, right, is the fact that they're jumping in as this huge company into a market that has, what I'm understanding is the next biggest company, just to put it in sales numbers. Tyson did some $40 billion in sales last year. Do I have that number right there, Tomas? Yep. And then the next in competition, if I'm understanding it right, is Beyond Meat, the company Beyond Meat, which is a plant-based, it's weird to say, like,
alternative meat company.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Alternative meat company, not plant-based meat company, because that's doesn't make any sense. But they only had 210 million in sales. So now, that doesn't mean that, therefore Tyson's going to have billions in sales on this plant-based. They may have the same amount of sales or less than Beyond Meat, but the point is they have the facilities, they have the money, they have the means to really make themselves a force in this alternative meat industry.
Yeah, Tyson has over 50 facilities across the U.S. for processing chicken currently, and some of those will be transitioned into processing their faux chicken nugget.
Yeah. And to give you a comparison, the Impossible Foods, another competitor in this market, one of the top competitors, only has one factory in Silicon Valley, which isn't surprising that it's in Silicon Valley, in my opinion. Anywho.
That's where they're going to get their market shares, in the state of California.
Right.
There's a Tyson CEO, Noel White, had a quote here at the bottom of the article. "We remain firmly committed to our growing traditional meat business." Traditional meat business. That's interesting.
Yes.
Terminology. There's Tyler Wilson quotes around that. "And expect to be a market leader in alternative protein, which is experiencing double-digit growth and could someday be a $1 billion business for our company."
Right.
And so this company, Tyson, sees an opportunity, sees a a market in which they could be a player in that has some growth opportunity, and they're trying
Yeah.
to take advantage of it. So
Yeah, and it's interesting. You know, you have all sorts of things going on with animal rights and stuff, which is just, in my opinion, insane. So much going on there that this is just kind of a icing on the cake, if you ask me. It's a way to try to be more consistent, I guess, in those areas for the heavy environmentalists and heavy animal rights advocates and such. We had another article we had thought about talking about along those lines. Maybe we'll pick up on some of that stuff later, but yeah, this is just, it's a continuing thread, and Tyson's picked up on it. They sniffed it out. They're like, hey, this thing's gonna make money, and that's what we have to realize here too. Is, you know, they say traditional meat business. We have to realize that you know, they're gonna use wording. Tyson is a company. They're going to invest in what they think is going to make them money. So let's not get too sentimental on what a company has done before. They're trying to make a profit, and they've done a really good job of that. They see something that's happening out in the market. They're going to take advantage of it because they see a profit to be had. So
this announcement, Tyson's stock rose 3%.
Yeah,
right after that announcement happened. So
yeah,
that's,
the projected is. Did you already say the projected? A projected jump of 78%. For U.S. sales of meat substitutes are expected. So $2.5 billion between 2018 and 2023. 2023.
Seems like a very high number to me, but you know,
it even be higher. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know where this is all going to go. Anyway, we've spent too long on that. Let's move on, Tomas.
We're going to transition into the article we found, kind of following up with our very first Friday on the Fly. We talked about hemp production and the opportunities here in the U.S. And so, Matt, what do we have here for the hemp article?
Well, once again, we're not getting high. You can go back to our first go around on hemp for what the difference is in the cannabis used for hemp and such. But in this, what we're talking about is seeing a company called Collar Point, who has announced their, what I understand as a partnership with AgTech. Is it Science? I think it is. Scientific, yeah. AgTech Scientific. And they've invested in taking over this 41-acre greenhouse, which is a huge greenhouse, obviously. And instead of producing what they've produced before in there, they're going 100% hemp in there. So I think that this is just another signal of, you know, the hemp industry is on the rise. There's a lot about it in social media right now. If you're on Twitter, a lot of people are mentioning this. And yeah, it just seems to be continuing to rise, and it's right there. If you're in Indiana, it's right at our footstep. Is that how you say that? Because they're below us. So.
Maybe, I guess.
Not in stature, but geographically.
Yeah, we talked about it before too. You know, the tobacco crop is dwindling in the state of Kentucky, and so it is a huge opportunity for them to expand into some other agricultural product. And it looks like hemp may be the option they go with, at least in this area. It's going to be. Yeah,
and there's, like I said, do go back and listen to the previous episode that we've done on this. But there's a lot of research out there, and showing that hemp is. Now, it's not something that you just plant and it's an instant success, but it does seem like as an alternative, it has a lot of positive aspects that make it maybe an easier plant in substituting for other things, such as like what we talked about in that episode, the wood industry, paper industry, I should say.
Yeah, fiber, oil.
Yeah, just how quick of a turnover you can have with hemp, you know, versus trees. So anyway, I think you guys out there, I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more with this hemp industry, especially as there's less and less red tape, maybe, or at least it's easier to get through the red tape to get into this industry. And
it does say in here that the partnership, they had to go and get a license through the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, so to be a hemp grower and hemp processor. So there is still, like you said, some of that process, some of that red tape, but it's becoming easier and easier for companies to join together and make a push through there. The article is on AgWeb, so you guys can check it out there. It's by Wyatt Bechtel. So
yeah, and it's just to give you some of the numbers with this facility, in case you're interested, that they're taking over. It has over 1,800,000 square feet. So it's 41 acres. greenhouse that includes 145,182 square feet of production and shipping facilities, agricultural processing center, drying, stripping, and milling of more than 100,000 plants per day. That's a good amount in my head. Experienced management. So this has been a facility prior to now. So it sounds like they're just taking over the previous management and training them up on hemp. So 113 full-time employees and more than 340 workers. Now that's a good point to make as well. That I wonder how this will translate into labor availability or employment availability, the hemp industry, because it seems like there's a more kind of more that goes into the harvest of it. I'm sure it'll get honed in and it'll be automated more and more, but that's a lot of employment. I mean, you don't have on a 10,000 acre farm 300 employees. So
the article does mention in here that since it is an indoor facility, there's a different process for harvesting that crop, so it very
sense.
very much more labor intensive.
So anyway, that's good for local families, I suppose. You have some 400 jobs there for people. So anyway, all right. Well, moving on to our whiplash section. Tomas, what happened last night?
Yeah, so we wanted to bring up some sports type things. I know that's not necessarily Matthew's forte, but I'm
played sports, just
somewhat of a
don't
sports
have the
buff.
Stats in my head like old Tomas does.
So this week was kind of a big week in sports. Wednesday, the St. Louis Blues became Stanley Cup champions for the first time in franchise history. It's pretty cool for the city of St. Louis to get a championship. It's been a while, and they lost their football team, so props,
they did
props to that city.
To the state I was
the great
in.
LA.
Yeah.
So they're living on the Cardinals, which is heartbreaking for me, and the St. Louis Blues. So congratulations to the Blues. First time, like I said, in franchise history, over 50 years. They had a rookie goalie, which he racked up all kinds of different stats and set a bunch of records for playoffs and played really well. And the interesting thing about the Blues story is they were in last place in January. So they went on kind of an epic run.
There's going to be a movie then with somebody.
There should absolutely be a
Liam
movie.
Neeson or somebody's going to be the coach, and he's going to throat punch somebody, and there's going to be all sorts of good stuff. So, yeah.
There absolutely could be about this story. It'd be really neat.
Moneymaker.
And then last night, the Toronto Raptors won the NBA Finals championship.
Hence, Canada can do other things other than hockey.
Sure.
Which,
Yeah,
so.
no Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup, but by golly, we're going to win in basketball. And it was the first time ever Toronto had won the NBA championship and the first time ever for the country of Canada. So congratulations to those guys.
There's some controversy, right, with this one because of just injuries and such, right?
Yeah, we were kind of talking before. I think this championship is going to go down as a huge question mark. Did Toronto win the championship, or did Golden State lose it via injury?
Yeah.
Kevin Durant got hurt earlier in the playoffs. He didn't play in games 1 through 4. Came back for game 5, scored 11 points in 12 minutes. Was looking great. And then
that's like Reggie Miller's little thing, except Reggie Miller did it in 11 seconds,
9 points
seconds.
in 7 seconds or something like that.
Something
so
incredible.
So Kevin Durant tore his Achilles 12 minutes into that game, and last night Klay Thompson tore his ACL after he had scored 30 points. And so when you're missing 2 of the best,
and with
3 players on your team,
terrible injuries, so that says something. Then how are they going to look next year? Are these guys going to be? Are they going to be free agents? with what's going on?
And that's the other thing they were talking about on the radio this morning is both of them are free agents.
Oh, they are.
And so
okay.
the NBA in general, which Matthew and I could go on and on about the NBA and our feelings there, but they were looking at a huge landscape shift, right? Kevin Durant, best player in the game, he's a free agent. Klay Thompson, top 10 player in the NBA, he's a free agent. Kawhi Leonard, who is the Finals MVP and who's not going to get any talk about, he was the first player to win the Finals MVP in both leagues. He won it in the Western Conference with the Spurs a few years ago, won it in the Eastern Conference with the Raptors. But that's all going to be overshadowed by
the injuries and such.
Durant and Klay Thompson are not even going to play next year because they're injured, and what's their free agency going to look like, and who's going to pay them $200 million to not play next year, and
to not play.
So
Yeah, that's the truth of it.
it was a very interesting week in sports. The Cincinnati Reds did win a game, so plug there.
There you go. Yeah, Tomas is a big Reds fan.
Yeah,
to say the
hopefully
least.
we can talk about the Reds winning a championship here, World
Yeah,
Series.
hopefully we didn't turn off too many listeners, who are MLB fans.
No.
Anyway, yeah. So it is interesting how things play out. Sometimes you have a guy who's done something. Now nobody else had done that, right? MVP in both.
Yeah, he's
both
first
conferences?
player to have a Finals MVP in both leagues. Yeah.
Gotcha. So first time to do that, yet that's going to be overshadowed by a guy tearing his Achilles and another guy his ACL. So.
It could be. I listen to sports talk radio a lot, and it's very interesting. In the heat of the moment, right after something happens, we have a certain viewpoint, and then when we look back on it 10 years later, what is that same viewpoint?
Yeah, that is interesting.
I think of
People
100 different examples, but this guy is the best player to ever live, and then you look back on his career, and he's like, he was okay, or this guy's underrated for so long, and then you look back, well, his numbers were really good. He's probably a Hall of Famer.
All the kids talk about him, right?
Yeah.
When he wasn't as much talked about, so.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, big things happening in sports. Some, I guess you could say, Cinderella stories that have taken place.
Absolutely. Maybe a couple movies made there.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, a couple Hollywood profits coming from that. A little bit of Hollywood profit, I should say.
You got any plans this weekend? It's Father's Day. Any fun things going on?
I don't know. Locally, going to a strawberry festival today.
Yeah.
Partially because of work.
Yeah.
Partially because I want to take my family there to.
If it's the Strawberry Festival weekend in Crawfordsville, it is going to rain. So everybody grab your umbrella, head out, grab some strawberry shortcake.
If you are going to go today, because tomorrow and Sunday definitely are the days projected for thunderstorms and all that. But yeah, that's what I'm planning. How about yourself, Tomas?
Well, we are planning on going to Cincinnati and taking in a couple ball games. Barry Larkin bobblehead day tomorrow. But we've got 2 sick kids at home, so the plans are still up in the air. We're seeing what everybody's feeling like this morning. When I got up this morning, everybody was still asleep, coughing.
Hey, happy Father's Day, Dad. Achoo!
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right. Well, we hope all of you out there, all the fathers out there listening, will have a good weekend. Enjoy maybe some fishing or something like that.
Yeah, grill out.
Relax.
Maybe tonight, like you said, if it's going to rain. But.
Yeah, have a good time. Maybe watch some Cinderella sports stories if there's any left.
Or Braveheart, whatever.
Yeah, freedom. All right, well, we hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Friday on the Fly. Have a great weekend. We look forward to talking to you next Friday.